What if the most powerful man in hip-hop was now just another inmate behind bars? Welcome to where we unpack the stories the world watches and whispers. And today, we begin with a shocking twist in the saga of Sean. Diddy Combs, the mogul once commanding stages, boardrooms, and billion-dollar deals, is now sitting in a prison cell. But Hayes, not just waiting out time. Hayes acting fast and moving smart, enrolling in 2 prison programs, one for drug abuse and one for domestic violence. These aren't just casual signups, these are federally offered reform programs. And Diddy is diving into both, sources tell us. Hayes also receiving personal therapy separate from those classes. And this isn't just about healing, this is about strategy. Because sentencing is looming on October 3rd, and everything points to Diddy trying to soften the blow the judge prosecution wants for years. But insiders believe he might walk away with just 1, maybe 2, and all signs say Hayes doing everything he can to land on the lighter end. Hayes gotta show the court. Hayes serious about change, and Hayes clearly aware of that. We've learned the judge who denied him bail before sentencing specifically cited his history of violence, and even the defense didn't dispute it, that history is haunting him. But here, where it gets more layered, Diddy has not been convicted on any counts of actual physical abuse or drug use in this trial. No convictions for force, fraud, coercion, or controlled substances. The viral Cassie video is excluded from evidence, and the only thing Hayes been found guilty of is violating the Mann Act, taking a prostitute across state lines for sex, and that single conviction might not sound like much. But when combined with the weight of public outrage, media pressure, and courtroom testimony, the judge could still factor it all in. Or maybe not. The defense is already preparing to argue that if he wasn't found guilty of those more serious charges, they shouldn't influence sentencing. But there's a twist, another element. You need to know about the word redemption. This came up repeatedly from sources close to Diddy, who say Hayes not just looking at prison time. Hayes looking beyond it. Hayes planning life after prison, business after prison, rebuilding a reputation that right now is more cracked than ever. Hayes not looking at decades. Locked up Hayes possibly getting out by the end of the year. And if Hayes free, by then, he'll need to prove, to the world especially, the entertainment and business world, that Hayes, not the same man who walked into that courtroom months ago in high-profile cases. Like this, top attorneys often focus on 2 tracks, winning the trial and repairing the brand. And this move toward therapy, rehabilitation, and public accountability hits both tracks at once. There's more. A caller named Alicia from New Jersey weighed in with a striking observation: redemption is a start. She said, but it's not enough. People want proof, not posturing. What the public needs to see, especially when everything unfolded so fast and so explosively. People are skeptical. The timeline is tight and trust is fragile, and all eyes are on whether Diddy walks the talk. But it's not just courtrooms. Buzzing headlines took a sharp turn into billionaire territory. The glitzy wedding of Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez lit up the tabloids. One guest at this power-soaked ceremony had people scratching their heads. Actress Sydney Sweeney was there, and it wasn't immediately clear why. What business did she have at the most exclusive celebration of the year? Turns out she had a massive business deal in the works, and Lauren Sanchez was the queen pin behind it all. This isn't just celebrity hobnobbing. This is strategic networking executed at the highest level. Sydney is launching her own lingerie brand, and guess who's funding it? $1 billion investment just got funneled into the firm Courtroom, led by Ben Schwerin, a friend of both Sydney and Lauren. Lauren connects the dots, introduces Ben to Jeff Bezos and Michael Dell, and suddenly flushed with $1 billion in new capital, and diving into lingerie, a sector they've never touched before, ever. Now, with Sydney at the helm, and Lauren pulling strings behind the scenes, it's all coming together, and people at the wedding were stunned. But the placement of Sydney in the inner circle now makes perfect sense. It's not about social status anymore, it's about financial power. Lauren leveraged her friendships to orchestrate an empire move, and Sydney just became the face of it. What's wild is how many people tried connecting dots. Before this revelation, some assumed Sydney and Lauren were working together on a movie called Split Fiction, which Amazon MGM just acquired. Others guessed it was just Hollywood proximity. But now we know this was a calculated play, and one that paid off big. And this was no accident. Sydney is already being hailed as the ultimate girl boss in the making. She knows how to pitch, she knows how to network, and she knows how to deliver when opportunity calls. One fan, India from Tampa, called in saying she'd gladly attend Sydney Sweeney's masterclass in business. Because this kind of move isn't about luck, it's about leveraging visibility, charm, and access. And that $1 billion bet shows just how seriously she's being taken in the business world. But we shift from the bold to the bizarre with a developing case involving none other than Queen Bey herself. Yes, Beyoncé is now entangled in a police investigation after her unreleased music was stolen during a break-in in Atlanta. Choreographer left a laptop in his car which got broken into, and that laptop allegedly contained unreleased tracks from Beyoncé's future projects. The 911 call is chilling as the choreographer panicked. Realizing what was taken, he begged the operator to act fast. And though he never said Beyoncé's name outright, you could hear the fear in his voice. He knew what was on that device, and he knew the beehive would come for him. Now, what's shocking is, why was he carrying unreleased music in a car in a public garage? Why wasn't it encrypted? Why wasn't he glued to it, especially when you're working with someone of beyond magnitude? Her music, her choreography, her plans, all just left sitting in a Jeep in Atlanta. The internet exploded. With theories and outrage, the Beehive called it career suicide. Many wondered aloud if this choreographer was even still employed. The Atlanta police now have a suspect thanks to surveillance footage, and an arrest warrant is reportedly in play. But questions remain. If Find My Device was enabled, why hasn't the laptop been located? The most likely answer is that the thief powered it off, or wiped the drive completely. The worst case scenario is that those tracks are already circulating, or worse, up for sale in some shady black market studio somewhere. Think about it, unreleased Beyonce music is like the Mona Lisa of the music world. If those files are out there, this becomes a race against time for damage control and potential leaks, as the hunt continues for the stolen laptop with Beyoncé's unreleased music. Tensions run high in Atlanta. The police have ramped up their investigation, and while they have a suspect identified thanks to garage surveillance and a possible license plate hit, public arrest has been announced yet, and the longer it takes, the more worried everyone becomes about what could leak to the internet. The Beehive is on fire with speculation and frustration, demanding accountability and asking why anyone would ever leave something so valuable unattended. This is more than just a security lapse. This is a breach of artistic trust. Because if that music ends up in the wrong hands, it could sabotage an entire album rollout, a multi-million-dollar tour, and years of creative planning. Fans have already started scanning shady corners of the internet, desperate to find out if any unreleased tracks have surfaced so far. Nothing, but in this digital age, anything is possible. Meanwhile, the gossip cycle doesn't slow down, and our next story is a bit lighter, but still headline-grabbing. The spotlight shifts to none other than Ray Romano, who shocked fans at a celebrity golf tournament by taking the mic at karaoke night and performing Lose Yourself by Eminem. That's right, the king of sitcoms, channeled Slim Shady, complete with a sideways hat and full swagger, at least his version of it. And while the first few lines were a little shaky, Ray quickly found his rhythm, belting out the lyrics with full commitment, backed by his sons acting as hype men. The crowd went wild, fans cheered him on, and according to eyewitness Shelby from San Jose, who recorded the viral clip, Romano not only performed, he won the karaoke contest, beating out the likes of the Kelsey brothers, Charles Barkley and Larry the Cable Guy. The crowd voted by cheers, and Ray's performance stood out not just for effort but for heart and humor, and that hat flip was the final touch that sealed the victory. It's not often you see someone like Ray Romano trading comedy for rap in a room full of celebrities, but this time, he brought the house down. Even Shelby, who submitted the clip, confirmed he wasn't drinking, and that the performance was pure spontaneous fun, which makes it all the more impressive. And if you think that was wild, wait till you hear what Jay Cutler is up to. The former NFL quarterback is currently vacationing in Africa and sparking massive backlash after posting a series of photos from a big game hunting expedition. In the images, Cutler is seen proudly posing next to endangered animals he hunted. While many fans were stunned, others were outright furious, calling the act cruelly unnecessary and disrespectful to African wildlife. The images spread quickly, with environmental groups and activists condemning his actions, saying these kinds of trips glorify the slaughter of majestic creatures under the guise of sport. While Cutler hasn't commented publicly, his photos have reignited the debate about trophy hunting and its place in modern tourism, especially when done by high-profile figures. At a time when public figures are being held to higher standards than ever, their actions abroad are scrutinized almost as heavily as their statements at home. Whether it's a football player hunting endangered species or a choreographer losing protected music, the stakes are higher and the fallout faster. And while most celebrities can expect criticism, Diddy finds himself at the epicenter of controversy, with his freedom hanging in the balance. His strategy in jail could determine not just his sentence, but his entire career moving forward. Insiders say his legal team is banking on the redemption narrative, showing he's changed, working on himself and preparing for a responsible re-entry into public life. But as one legal expert noted, that only works if the judge believes it's genuine and not a show. If Diddy gets 1 year, which some believe is highly likely, he could walk out by Thanksgiving, given time already served in good behavior credits. But the prosecution is still pushing for 4 years, and they've asked the judge for precedent, something that's surprisingly hard to find because the Mann Act is rarely used against John. Typically, it's used to prosecute sex workers or traffickers, so the defense might argue selective prosecution. And if they win that argument, Diddy's sentence could be even shorter, and that possibility has the industry buzzing. What happens if Diddy is back in the world before the year ends? How will brands, artists, collaborators, and fans respond? Is his reputation tarnished, or can a carefully crafted redemption arc bring him back into the spotlight? That's what his legal team is banking on. And while his case unfolds, the business of fame continues to spin at full speed, because power, influence, and access never really go away. They just shift and adapt. One day, it's a billionaire wedding and $1 billion lingerie deal. The next, it's leaked music and a disgraced mogul trying to reclaim his name. And through it all, one thing remains clear: Hollywood never sleeps. and neither does the drama. From legal maneuvers to public comebacks to high-profile karaoke redemption, everyone is playing their part in the grand spectacle of celebrity culture. And here, at HollyLeaks, we're watching every move, every twist, and every scandal unfold. So if you want to stay one step ahead of the story, if you crave the real behind-the-scenes details, the drama, the dirt, the truth, then make sure like and subscribe, because this is where the leaks never stop and the spotlight never fades.